So let's begin to look at different tools that Visual Studio gives us to what we call debug our code. In other words, if we're getting errors, what are some of the tools available to us that we can walk through our code and try to figure out where things are going wrong? This is called debugging. The first thing I want to share with you is, before I even begin debugging, I want to show you a little bit about the toolbars here in Visual Studio. There's lots of buttons that are available to you, and there'll be more than one menu potentially depending on what your settings are. If you want to click on any menu item, to the right of the menu item you'll see, or to the set of menu items, this particular set of menu items is the standard toolbar. And if you click on the little drop down and click add or remove programs or buttons, you'll see that there's different options available to you of things that you'd like to display or have not displayed. So that way you have control over what tool icons are available to you here. And the reason why I bring this up is, in order to do debugging, you want to make sure that in your toolbars, so I'm going to go to View Toolbars, and again, here are different toolbars that you can have available to you up there, so you have control over that. You want to make sure that your debug toolbar is selected. And so now I have two toolbars, that sounds funny. I have the standard toolbar, and I can look at the drop down to control the buttons that appear there. And if I look further, I also have a debug toolbar, and we're going to be using this in this example. So that's how you can make sure that this toolbar is available during debugging. I have some sample code here, and I want to explain debugging now. So we want to be able to walk through our code, and this code is relatively short, but as our code gets more complex, debugging becomes very helpful. What I'm going to do is, in this little gray column here, I'm going to set what's called a stop point, a breakpoint, and I'm going to click right here, and I'm going to put a breakpoint, this red dot, on this integer declaration. And what will happen then is, as I run the code, rather than completely running all the code, it's going to stop on this line that I've implemented, that I've indicated, not implemented, indicated with the red breakpoint. And so I can analyze what the computer has walked through or has computed up to that point. So I'm going to click on Start. Now you need to run this in debug mode. In other words, if I just start without debugging, the breakpoint won't work. But to just run your regular start debugging, your start button here, the code's going to run, but it's going to stop on the line that I've indicated. And you can see it stopped currently, so it just ran these 3 lines of code. And if I look, I can see that there's a yellow arrow on my red dot, my red breakpoint. I'm going to click down here on Locals and see at this moment in time what values have been given to those variables. So I can see that num1 has a 5, num2 is 10. This line that I've stopped the breakpoint on hasn't been computed yet. It hasn't been processed yet. So num3 is still 0 and num4 is still 0. So I can also move my mouse over a variable and see what the value is that way as well. So maybe I'm ready to continue, but I again don't want to run all of the program. I have some options up here, these little blue arrows. Step into, which means just do the next line of code. Step over and step out will work on at another time, but for now let's just use the step into. So I'm going to click on that button, and you'll see that the yellow arrow has moved down, and you'll see down here that num3 is now 15, and you see it's highlighted the text font color is now red to indicate that that was what was changed at that last line. So the line I'm on is not currently been computed yet, but everything up to that line has. So if I continue to step through, I'm going to step to the next one. Number 4 is now in red, it is now 20. I'm going to do the next one, and you should see, if I can pull up our, there we go, if I can pull up our command line, now our first line has been written. Continue. We'll run the entire rest of the code. So if I'm done debugging and I just hit continue, instead of doing it line by line, it'll continue to run the rest of the code. So hopefully that's helped get you started on debugging.